Hello and welcome to another episode of the Retail Journey Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Charles Greathouse.
And I'm James Harris. And today we're talking with Casey Roberts. And Casey is the founder and president of Stat Recovery Services. Stat is a deduction recovery service that specializes in the retail market and really specializes in suppliers and retailers working more efficiently together. Welcome to the Retail Journey, Casey.
That's right. Well, thank you both for having me. And, as you said, I started Stat 8 years ago, and it's been quite a journey. I don't know if you guys want to hear a little
Short
bit.
8 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Let's get into it.
a real easy, linear. I'm sure there were never any bumps.
It's all just flown by.
Along that journey.
Yeah, I spent 6 years at Walmart, and I thought that was a long time to be at one job. And now I'm 8 years into this one. But this has been an amazing journey. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, so getting to go out and start my own business that was successful. I had started one other business before that flopped.
Oh, really?
Within like 60 days. But
so when were you first an entrepreneur? When does it happen? Can you be an entrepreneur if you're at a very large corporation? Is it in your heart, or is it about how you get paid?
I think it's just about dreaming big and trying to come up with something new.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think there's so many entrepreneurs over at Walmart, because I worked with them, where it's just like constantly looking at, okay, this is a neat construct that the industry seems to think I'm going to fit in. What would happen if I just didn't?
Yeah.
What if we think about it super differently? And I love doing that kind of work, collabing with brands and figuring out ways to actually grow categories by thinking about it differently. And to me, that's entrepreneurship. But I think on this side, you understand why people say cash is king. I used to use that analogy as a merchant of inventory being, Walmart tying up cash in the investment in your product. And if you have too much, that's bad for cash flow. And it was a useful tactic to try to push for what you do, which is efficiency and collaboration between Walmart and its partners. But the reality is the cash wasn't that wasn't going to change pay cycles or anything. On the entrepreneur side, cash is king is a lifeblood, reality. For 8 years, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So from your original business plan, 8, 9 years ago when you were dreaming this thing up to now, how much has changed of today's reality from that first business plan?
Yeah. I mean, the first business plan, I didn't have really grand visions of, how big the business could be. I had a vision that I could do something different, and maybe it would only be me and a couple of other people, I had never led a team before. I was always an individual contributor when I was at Walmart. So it's kind of all I knew, in the corporate world was just getting things done and kind of driving the success on your own.
You made quite a transition then.
Yeah. I had to learn a lot of that the hard way, building up a team and, putting people in different roles and helping train them on different tasks and thinking about the business. Every month I felt like I had to go back through and reimagine, what the team and the process
evolution is fast.
Yeah, it is.
And when the base is, zero, the exponential change is so significant when you're starting out. I'd love to hear you could do things differently. Like, what was that initial spark that said, all right, Casey, I'm doing it. I'm going, there's something that needs to be done. I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah. I mean, working at Walmart, I saw a lot of the problems that suppliers had, and some of them were self-inflicted and some of it was just, Walmart's a big company. So, there's a lot of different ways that you have to interact with them. But I got the opportunity to work with 200 to 300 different suppliers in that time and dive into specific issues. I'd call their EDI provider. I would go to a warehouse. We would get on calls with their sales team or their supply chain team. So I got all these different perspectives. And then I saw how Walmart thought about things, and it was very different.
Kind of the bridge.
Yeah.
Specifically, it's the which area? Because when you say issues in retail is one of those things that presents itself like there's this linear thing that happens, but the reality is there are a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah.
And they're moving very quickly at Walmart.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of customers, a lot of stores, a lot of traffic, a lot of players involved. So when you talk about issues,
Yeah,
what
the
arena?
payment issues, but payment issues can happen anywhere in the product life cycle.
So true, yeah.
So from setting up a contract to
Yeah.
setting up an EDI provider to building an accounting process, so that way you can invoice and reconcile, to how people package their products and where they put labels, to what time they send something, and when they dispute. And even then, when product gets into a store, what happens then? And does it get marked down? Does it get lost somewhere? So anything along that path can disrupt payment or, create an issue.
Yeah.
This might be a good segue. Yeah, I've heard you speak before at different panels, different events, and you talk a lot about how to think like a retailer.
Yeah.
How do you help suppliers kind of think like a retailer?
Yeah. I mean, if you're a supplier, you're dealing with, maybe 10 different retailers, and then you've got your own internal business to run. So, and I see this even in our business, we have 400 clients, right? So we have to build processes for ourselves so that way we can be efficient, but then we have to learn how to deal with every different client. Some of them just want to handle things a different way. And so we have to customize that. With Walmart, they're the payer. So they are the one who controls whether or not you get money and what happens to your product. So being able to step out of, where you are and then get in their shoes and understand what their processes are like, how they think, what data they're using. That's where I saw most of the challenges, whenever I was...
What problems they're trying to avoid.
Yeah. Oftentimes they just couldn't see the other one's perspective.
Yeah.
And so, Walmart's a big company. They're not going to bend their process for every supplier.
Right.
So that leaves the suppliers to need to change their process sometimes.
Yeah. I think that's probably true with nearly all retailers.
Yeah.
Even large or small, they're working with hundreds to thousands of suppliers. They got to have kind of one process.
You talked about efficiency, and I mean, I love that word. There's so much that goes on where efficiency is a huge differentiator. A lot of times people think about efficiency as just a matter of cost, but there's a lot of product categories, especially fresh food and that sort of thing, where efficiency leads to product quality improvement.
Yeah.
The less time a banana spends in transit, the more time you have it on your counter, and it's still good. And there's a lot of efficiency that process ends up defining, but things get lost in the middle. Deductions as a topic from a merchant point of view, I had really almost no idea how much was out there from the stance of it. Like, hey, if you don't pay close attention, there's things you might miss as a supplier.
Yeah. I mean, deductions can hit any part of the product life cycle. And so, and there's a drive to be efficient that can sometimes cost money, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you try to get too efficient,
Right.
as a supplier or even as the retailer, it has repercussions sometimes where it will end up driving up claim volumes, or, your accuracy will go down. So
you save some money on a certain type of core good, but your damage rate goes up 20%.
Yeah.
We've all, with great intentions, either made or seen made decisions that turns out, nope, that wasn't
that
was not the right call.
Yeah.
Hindsight's real clarifying for a lot of folks.
So we like to give something that our listeners, suppliers, can take away. Like, what are some things that suppliers can do either on the front end of a new business relationship with Walmart, or just in doing an audit of, okay, we've got this much OTIF, this many kind of regular claims. Where do they start on just looking at what do I need to do differently to avoid these things?
Yeah. I mean, the first step is try to think like the retailer. What data sets are they using? What caused the claim in the first place? Was it something that you did or something that they did? How do you want to present that to them? What backup do you want to give? Because, just understanding a little more about the other side might give you some clues on, oh, if I just change that small process on my end, they're not going to change their process. But I know if I make a small adjustment here, then that will reduce claims. So thinking like the retailer first and taking a step back and asking yourself, who do I need to talk to? What process do I need to leverage? What data do I need to be looking at? Because if my data is different than their data, when I go to dispute something or ask for that money and I'm presenting the wrong information, they're not going to know what to do with it. And they're unlikely to take the time to try to
translate it.
To translate it. They don't want the burden of proof put back on them. They want you to tell them the right story with the right information.
Yeah. Burden of proof is a great sentence when it comes to effective data use. We talk about data a lot. As a merchant, used it a lot to prove what the customer is telling me without bringing the customer to a walkthrough. To say, hey, tell them, tell my leadership why I decided to buy this. It's the data that shows the story of where they're going, what they're missing, what they wish that they had. And in this space, it's proving, hey, this was missed. And I think everybody's on the same page of what should happen once proof is here. But the journey to get there can be nonlinear, sometimes difficult.
And most people want to help you solve it, but
Totally.
It's, if they have 100 things on their plate, how much time is it going to take to help you solve that problem? So if they're limited on resources, then they may not jump in. That was my job. And so it was kind of a cool experience to be at Walmart. And, they said, go dive as deep as you need to, and figure out what the problem is. But not everybody has that time or that opportunity.
That is interesting, though, and I think that's a perspective that a lot of suppliers don't have, that you were challenged as a Walmart employee to fix problems that were causing deductions on certain suppliers. So I think there's a false kind of understanding that deductions, regardless of retailer, is just kind of a money grab. But I've heard you talk about this, about payer bias. Do you mind jumping into that a little bit? Because I think it'll be pretty illuminating.
I hear suppliers say, oh, I think, they're just holding back my money. And it's not as intentional as some suppliers sometimes think it is. It's just Walmart is a big company. There are a lot of things to take care of. So your little problem, may not get the attention that it needs. And there's also, I think in any payer and payee relationship, anytime that you're writing the check, you want to make sure that you don't overpay.
Right.
And that sometimes defaults to underpaying
We're going to
just
err
a little
on
bit.
a side.
And it's not about keeping that money, but it's about not accidentally overpaying, because sometimes it's hard to go claw back that money once you've overpaid.
Totally.
So it's not quite the intentional money grab that some people
it's
characterize
typically an issue
as.
that would happen in the supply chain that would cause a deduction. It's really a cost to Walmart that wouldn't have been there had the thing been done right.
And then they've got to research it and try to figure out how to pay it back. So, and all those things take time and resources. So
the stat helps you bring back the stuff that was accidentally not paid.
Yes.
It doesn't bring back the stuff that was legitimately not paid.
There's an error somewhere, and that error could fall on the supplier side or the retailer side, and that could cause a deduction. And, most people with the right evidence and the right data are going to want to pay that back. But there is kind of a default to underpay when there's a discrepancy, and then let that get reconciled later.
I appreciate that mindset shift of, just trying to get to no, this is the more efficient thing to do. You don't want to overpay. I think everybody can agree, no one's trying to overpay anything. Trying to be precise is great, but there's a level of investment necessary to be very precise, and sometimes time might be part of that. I don't think anyone wants to get paid slower.
There's a lot of things suppliers can do to stop those discrepancies from happening. And that could be, going back all the way to looking at your contracts and making sure that they're set up the right way, and that purchase orders are coming across with the right terms, to how an item is set up, to how you transmit something on an EDI document, to making sure that you have the right information and the right qualifiers. Also, timing is a big issue. As you transmit things too early,
If you invoice before delivery,
it can cause
that can cause
problems,
an issue,
you
yeah.
know, and some of that is a little more difficult to manage. So some people don't do that, but monitoring what happens after you send something out. You know, we all like to believe, hey, I send it out and they're gonna take it in just like I sent it out, but that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of hands touching things along the way. And every time something gets touched, that's an opportunity for something to get misplaced,
Yeah.
something to get routed to the wrong area, or someone to miscount. But there's quite a bit in, you know, we call it invoice compliance, where a supplier can monitor what they're sending out, when they're sending out, and how it's being taken in. And you can get ahead of a lot of those deductions,
And
stop them.
And you might have already done this, but how does Stat come alongside a new supplier that comes in and says, "Hey, I've got this problem"? How do you like help them? Kind of, maybe they've been doing this for a long time and they've got their processes and they worked for a long time, and now something changed and that's not working. You know, sometimes maybe it's forest for the trees, maybe it's just you don't know what you don't know. How do you all come alongside and consult them out of those kinds of situations?
Yeah. You know, when a supplier first talks to us, sometimes they have that problem, you know, it's a big deal to them. They're having weekly meetings on it. Sometimes it may not even be that, you know, monetarily that much,
Right.
but it's a big deal to them. So the first thing that we try to do is understand what that is. And, you know, if we can help out, and then take that back and say, okay, let's not just define this as what you've stated it as. Let's go back and let's look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
So we like to look at
That root cause
Yeah.
approach. Anybody who's, in my mind, like, you know, doing anything right in this sort of retail space, they don't just take the surface level symptom. You go figure out, okay, what caused this?
Yeah.
What's going to make it happen again next time? What's the broader context? Because, you know, sometimes something might look real bad or look real good. And with a little bit of zoom out, a little bit of perspective, it changes your entire understanding of the situation.
Yeah,
So I love that approach.
Sometimes they're just defining, you know, the symptom.
Yeah,
and
totally.
we need to go back and be like, well,
We can treat that, or
or we could try to find the root cause.
swim upstream a little.
And we try to look at every transaction. So I think that's what's different than, you know, some of suppliers' own internal processes is they'll get focused on a deduction. You know, they're seeing this one thing appear on their check. But when you go back and you scan every transaction, you get a better story.
Right.
And then, you know, you do that over, you know, a 2-year time frame, and it starts to put some things together for you, like, oh, you continue to have this issue. It doesn't always pop up as a claim. You know, sometimes there are issues that sit there for years, and because suppliers aren't getting a claim, they don't do anything to fix it. And then something changes in their process or Walmart's process, and now it's just, you know, every other transaction has a deduction.
Yeah. Kind of giving me some FOMO a little bit. Like, all right, what do I not know? Need to go dig in and scour through some data to make sure you find the answer to that.
And some of that is just taking our suppliers on that journey too. Like,
For sure.
help them step back, because they can, you know, they know their business better than we do. You know, we may see a lot of information and, you know, get the opportunity to audit, you know, various issues, but they know their business. So we try to bring them along that journey of, you know, take a step back, think about the retailer's perspective, and then come up with a solution.
Charles, you shouldn't have too much FOMO because we work with Stat Recovery on all of our clients. So it's
true.
being done.
I'm just like in the mind of a supplier thinking about, you know, you said the first step is, you know, take a step back, think about it from a retailer perspective. The first step is realizing you might have some unwarranted deductions.
Yes.
Like if you think like, no, I don't have any unwarranted deductions. Like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Maybe take a look at every transaction, and I bet within some math, we're going to find you do. Maybe it's not a
surprising.
huge amount, but it probably is.
It's surprisingly possible to have deductions that you're unaware of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had no real understanding of it as a buyer. So on this side, it's been quite eye-opening to see, wow, there's a lot of that. And it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. You know, as a buyer, I didn't, you know, a lot of people say, buyers don't buy because replenishment managers are the ones that actually click the button, but it turns out they don't actually write any checks. So none of us actually bought. It's when the check comes
Then
that
it's
truly
been
the
purchased.
buy
Yeah.
happened. I just, as a merchant would have decided it, but
Yeah.
it's interesting. The more holistic you get to think about the business, the more some of these dots start connecting for you.
Yeah.
I really liked being in merchandising, and when I got my first job, outside in that tech space, building tools and tech, opened up my eyes to whole different sides of the business that you never really understood. And I think there's something really powerful about partnering with people like you on this side, because you get a whole different view at the whole different angle of the problem trying to solve, which is, delight customers and help them save money, live better, save time. Or if you're at Sam's Club, just making savings simple and making it easy to be tickled to death that you have a membership to shop there. And you come back more often. That's the macro, but underneath all of that, there's so many things that go on. There's a lot of solopreneurs who have great products, great solutions, and there's a lot of boxes to check across the data and the nuance of the data and making sure you're actually maximizing the situation.
Yeah. It's just, I try to take the same playbook to my business that, we do with the suppliers.
Yeah.
Is I bring in consultants and outside parties to give me a different perspective, and whether that's for how we're set up as a leadership team, or auditing our own books, or looking at how we have data collection and audit processes set up. I bring in experts who specialize in specific things, because they're going to challenge our own team to step outside of their box, because any company that gets beyond a few people starts setting up silos and roles. And if you let those things just become the norm, then, they'll capture 80 or 90% of the things that they're supposed to do, but those little bits fall off the end.
Well, I've been around for your kind of growth over the years, and you started with a handful of people, and you've got more people now than we do, and we're somewhere around 30. And I think about the different evolutions that we've had to go through from solo to 30. I mean, it's got to be like 5.
Yeah.
Like 5 full evolutions to become what we needed to be for this new either number of clients, number of employees, amount of complexity.
Yeah.
And you guys have surpassed that. So I don't think you've probably stopped evolving since you hired your first person.
No. And sometimes I didn't even get a chance to stop and enjoy, we just evolved to this level. Now let's all just take a break and let's do it this way for a while, because
it keeps going.
It was, growing so fast. There's that 1 to 5 person, team, and then there's that 5 to 10, and then 10 to 20, and then, 20 to 40. And every time we were just constantly having to reimagine what the team looked like and what products and services we were going to offer to suppliers. Because when we were small, there was only so much we could do. And then as we grew, we could do more for our suppliers. But then it was almost like, okay, now we have to go back and try to sell more or discover more about what they need. So that's been a pretty eye-opening journey for me, because, I remember the things that we did when we were less than 5 people, and you just did all of the things. If somebody asked you for something, you just did it.
Yeah.
And if it didn't make any money, then you were like, okay, I'm not sure I'll do that again, but I learned something from that.
Yeah.
Why do you think you've grown so fast?
I think we have a strong attachment to money and value. Just our business model is about bringing money back to suppliers, but then helping them have transparency, around what does it take to do business with Walmart? How much money are you making, and where do you need to invest more resources? So I think just being so close to the dollars has been a growth driver for us, because there are some businesses where the results are less tangible, or it takes longer to realize. Like with ours, you see it, pretty immediately. Within 30 days, you're getting money back, and then you're able to reinvest that money back into your business and your relationship with Walmart, and like the results come pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And start to fix the things that caused that
Yeah.
issue in the first place.
I love that, intense focus on value addition. It's the whole point.
That's
Is
the
to
whole point.
be able to add value.
Yeah.
I think similar perspective of like, some suppliers look at Walmart under like there being a deduction that was unnecessary that should get paid back as a money grab. There's some folks out there that look at anybody in a third party spot and like, oh, you're just trying to get money. And I think those that are successful, not at all. Are you kidding? I'm here about adding value.
Yeah.
I'm here to solve problems that would go either unsolved or unrealized until they're way bigger.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these problems are similar. They're going to happen ongoing. And if you're really good at understanding where they are and where they've been, and you've seen a lot of them, you get to find them way faster and reduce the size. And that in reality reduces a tremendous amount of costs in the entire system.
Yeah.
Wouldn't exist if the value wasn't, far exceeding the cost that was brought.
Yeah, and just understanding like what can be paid back and what can't. I think
Yeah.
that's when you're in a business relationship with someone and you don't know exactly how much you're going to get paid or what something's going to cost,
Yeah.
that unknown can put a lot of strain on the relationship. So, there are certain deductions that are not going to be paid back because they're legitimate.
Right.
Yeah.
And being able to identify those versus the ones that you need to go and put time and energy into, and that helps you define, all right, this is how much money I'm making here.
Yep.
This is what I need to do to optimize my business. So just understanding that makes your relationship better with the retailer.
And you're not wasting your time on deductions. You're actually trying to grow your business.
Yeah.
I was told often as a merchant that, Walmart's one of the best retailers to work with because, if you say you're going to do something, you do it. That's kind of like how I grew up.
Yeah.
I also kind of grew up professionally at Walmart. So there may be a little bit of, correlation and how I think about those sort of things. But curious from your perspective, how much that shows up in your experience that like, no, Walmart, they're not trying to do things. And then I'm not sure if you're also working with folks outside of Walmart because we only do Walmart and Sam's.
Yeah.
I'm curious of your perspective of how that holds true because you're where that rubber really hits the road.
Yeah. I mean, I've spent more time working, on the Walmart business. So we also do Amazon, Target, and a little bit in Kroger. But I think Walmart is a great retailer to work with.
Yeah.
Their size and their scale. And, when they say they will do something, oftentimes they do, and, there are unforeseen circumstances that sometimes, disrupt, what we hope will happen. But I think, Walmart has been a great driver of growth for a lot of companies.
Yeah.
And I think they're pretty fair. They're a large corporation. So understanding how to deal with them is important.
Yeah.
But once you understand that and you realize like what their expectations are and they tell you, hey, I need this, and then you deliver that, then, your business is going to grow.
I love that. As in merchandising, often talked about the most valuable asset at Walmart was customer trust. And if that ethos remains, then we're all on the same page of like the deduction should be whatever actually was necessary so that we can protect customer trust, whether it be quality, efficiency, speed, inventory management. And I've seen that hold true. I think it's a major differentiator.
Yeah.
Because the top retailer has evolved way more often than it has in this, current environment. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah. And Walmart is moving fast and they're changing a lot. And, some of those things, they're difficult to keep up with. But if you can keep up with them, then you're going to be on that growth journey with Walmart.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned some other retailers a minute ago. Are there any trends, like just kind of across the board, that your trends you're seeing in your segment of the market?
I think over the past couple of years, we've seen some of the post audits or those charges from the 2-year look backs getting closer to the event. And that's across multiple retailers. They don't want to leave something out there for 2 years and then hit the supplier with some unexpected charge. They
Feels like a
also,
good thing, right?
yeah, it is a good thing, but it also, excuse me, can require a little more work on the front end.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing is, capturing dollars whenever you're supposed to pay them, identifying compliance issues before they balloon into some bigger problem,
Yep.
and the clearing of those items closer to the event.
Feels like speed's a major competitive advantage. I mean, really, I could finish the sentence there. But in this space where, being able to scour through, understand, quickly get to recommendation, take action.
Yeah.
How has that evolved over the last 8 years?
More and more data and automation.
Yeah.
Especially, at the major retailers, the way they're using data is different. The processes that they're putting in place, the utilization of third parties, whether that's in, aggregating data or analyzing it, or, having third parties do different functions. So we just see more and more information being available, and then that information being used to drive efficiency. And then we see some of those bumps in the road that come with efficiency because, you get too efficient and it ends up messing something else up.
I'm a big fan of the Tim Collins book, Good to Great. And one of the 3 kind of primary things he says in there is large organizations can only do 3 things well. So when you start getting into some of these granular transactional things, it's probably better to get another organization that's just doing that.
Yeah.
Right. They'll do it really well. They'll drive the cost out of the process, give you the finished result. And you probably save money in the process.
Well, I think
And
it's probably the same,
better.
in the sales world too, as you.
It's true for us. We work with partners that do things that we don't do, that aren't a part of what we do. It's not part of one of our 3 things, our big 3 things.
Like stat recovery.
That's right.
What's in a name? Why stat recovery?
Thought about this for a long time. Spent months just throwing names back and forth. And I like acronyms. I think coming from Walmart, there's all these acronyms.
No doubt.
And I couldn't come up with a clever name. So I was like, well, let's just try to fit it in, let's just try to create an acronym. So it's Supplier Transaction Audit Technology.
Nice.
It rolls off the tongue. I'm glad you called it stat. Stat works great.
We had a lot of trouble with our logo trying to fit those things underneath the letters and somewhere. So eventually we just
someone just said, actually, maybe
let's just go with stat.
Yeah.
Call it stat.
And even at first we were just stat recovery consultants because, at that point we didn't have a lot of technology. So we were just there to advise and, help suppliers fix problems, get really hands-on.
Yeah.
And then, we rebranded as Stat Recovery Services because we've got the technology services and, the audit and consulting services.
Yeah.
But sometimes we just call ourselves Stat.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Because
it's hip.
It is hip.
So we call ourselves High Impact sometimes, quite often actually.
Yeah.
It's High Impact Analytics. If you want to email us,
That's right.
Got the rest of those letters in there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So if I'm a supplier to Walmart and Sam's or Target, Kroger, Amazon, etc., and I'm either unsure that I'm operating efficiently or maybe even unaware where my empathetic FOMO comes from for them, what would be the right sort of next step?
Just inviting us in, or, if you want to engage an individual or a third party, invite them in and have them, not rely on your OpenAR report or what you think is the problem.
Yeah.
So help me identify what the problems are and then see if that matches up to the things that you have.
Yeah.
And when you do some of that discovery work, will you show the opportunity before costs starts changing?
That was kind of the playbook for us in the beginning, and it's still what we do today, is first go in and we'll take a look at what they have, what they think their issues are.
Yeah.
But then we like to take a step back, analyze everything. It's free analysis.
Yeah.
And sometimes we come back and we say, you know what? you're really doing everything that you should be doing. You've already cleared everything. It happens occasionally.
Great.
But most of the time, there's things that are getting missed. It could be under tolerance. It could be something that got denied and you wrote it off because you thought, well, it was denied and it seemed to have a valid reason, but there's actually more information there that would uncover it should have been paid back.
Burden of proof.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
I like that. So you prove the value as a part of the reason for actually working together.
Yeah, we show where the money is and different ways to go get it, and then where we see some of the problems are. Occasionally, well, I say quite often, actually, we get pushback from the teams that are doing those jobs, and I think they believe that we're there to make them look bad or that we're going to take over their job, and that's not it. The team asked me the other day on one of our calls, they said, "What's your greatest value?" Or what's Stat's greatest value? What's that corporate culture, that word that really says who we are? And I was like, our greatest value is value. And I thought that was really clever.
Our greatest value is value.
But that's where we are there to add value. And if we can't add value, we don't work with, that company.
Yeah.
Because we've always wanted to be associated with real dollars and value, and for people to be able to see what we did.
Love that.
And not that we're just coming in there and saying, oh, well, you could hand your process off to us and maybe we could do it cheaper. Yeah. That's fine. There is some value in that, but we've always looked for a little more impact. We want to have a high impact.
High impact.
There you go.
Man, and you need it quickly. So Stat. Well done. I love that. I think that's part of why it's really easy to partner, because it's very much an ethos we have.
Yeah.
I often say, I'm not looking to plug a hole that doesn't need to be filled. We want to solve real things. And for me, a solid litmus test at the end of the day is I don't want to receive a resentful check from a client.
Yeah.
Like if you're writing me a check, it's because you're just really glad we decided to partner on this. And what I did was of great value to you and your company, or of high impact.
Yeah. Of high impact.
All right. Hey, we usually finish these up with a lightning round.
Okay.
Just a handful of questions, kind of fun little things. I'll start off here. We talk about fail fast frequently, right? It's how you learn. What's one of your biggest failures in business that you'd want to share?
My biggest failure was probably not realizing early on that we needed to develop a company culture. And coming from an individual contributor role, I thought, well, everybody just does everything and we all just do stuff and we get satisfaction out of doing things and making money. But people come to work for different reasons. And it took me a few years to really understand what was driving the people that were coming to work every day. Sometimes it was money. Sometimes it was career growth. Sometimes it was being challenged and trying something new. And so
sometimes it's a sense of belonging. It's community, right? Like sometimes it's very intangible. Like what motivates an entrepreneur to do their thing is probably not what motivates the majority of the other people in the company, right? And learning that was a big one for me too.
Yeah, and
that's awesome. I love that realization and having it early enough. That you wouldn't have the growth you have without people wanting to be a part of the squad.
I wrote the team, a little note a couple of weeks ago, and I was thinking back to my Walmart days, and say our people make the difference. Mm-hmm. And when I was at Walmart, I was like, oh, those are just slogans that are up on the wall. But as I've grown, in business and matured, I'm like, no, our people really do make the difference because we're a relationship-based business. Some people say, oh, you're a tech company. I'm like, well, we use technology, but we build relationships with people because they have to trust us to go in there and take a look at their business and not feel threatened. And, when you find money, you don't want them to go, oh, man, now I've got a bad taste in my mouth because I should have found that and now I look bad. Like we try to make our clients and the people that we interact with, the heroes. And so people, whether it's employees or whoever you're working with, at a client, those people make the difference. So
I love that. What are you reading lately?
Well, I haven't read a book in like 10 years. People always ask me,
I'm
like,
glad
what
you just said that.
Yeah.
And I tell the team, I don't read books. Okay.
Memes. You get a good meme you read.
I read plenty of emails.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
That's right.
I read some news. I'm actually trying to get more into reading. I have a little project that I'm working on with my son. I'm trying to get him motivated about it because I do like reading. I'm just not a very good reader. Like I'm the guy that wants a picture book.
Yeah.
So we're trying to come up with a little bit of a different way to consume.
You do podcasts or anything like that?
Occasionally,
Yeah.
I listen to a little bit. My wife likes the audiobooks, but
Yeah.
I should get into reading. I've been, so focused
Yeah.
on the business for the past 8 years
Know
that,
that.
sometimes you just put hobbies and other things aside.
Sure.
And I'm realizing now that some things I should probably do just for my own well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll wrap with this. From the last 12 or so months, what's one of the biggest things you've learned? Been kind of an unlock.
Yeah. I think it's something I've learned about myself, but also about the business. Looking at myself, I realized, I'm not a doer anymore. I got out of doing stuff. And I think I didn't realize that transition was happening.
Right.
But also, as I've gotten out of doing things, other people have picked up those things that I was doing, and they're making those decisions, and I need to let them.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's probably been like
a huge transition.
Yeah, it's a realization
Yeah.
as well as realization about myself, but also an observation on those around me that as I stepped back from doing things, they picked up all of those tasks and they do them better than I was able to do them. So that's over the last 12 months. That's been cool to see.
Well, I wouldn't sell it short either because you're doing something.
Well,
You're
yeah.
leading an organization.
Yes.
You're doing less and leading more.
Yes.
And that's important.
Influencing other people to do things,
Yeah. Exactly.
and challenging, I think the biggest thing that I bring to the table, with the team today is perspective.
Yeah.
Whenever I would start an audit when I was at Walmart and then, even after, I was like, you have to assume that everything's wrong. Okay. Like just the data's bad. Whatever information you have from the past is wrong, and then go through the careful steps of proving which pieces are right and which pieces are missing. So I'm trying to, continue to give that perspective to the team of like, wait, let's all just assume that everything that we've heard up to this point is wrong, and let's just take a step back. If we go on this journey, we'll prove some of those things to be right.
Hopefully that's not true.
Yeah,
but we're
hopefully
done.
everything is right.
But we'll find out.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I love it.
I like that. And Casey, go ahead, sir.
Oh, I was saying the other thing about I think that's been an eye opener for me about the supplier world is there are so many different needs out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like we kind of came into this with one particular area that we wanted to focus on, and as technology has evolved and retailers are putting more data out there, suppliers are applying more data and more analytics. There's just so many opportunities in our business and in your industry as well, that there's a ton of things that we could do to drive efficiency and
Change and growth creates opportunity.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of both right now.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, Casey, I really appreciate you spending some time with us.
Yeah.
It's been, I've worked with you for 5 or 6 years and I learned some stuff today. So hopefully everybody else did too. And as always, thank you for joining us. You can check out our videos or audio podcasts on highimpactanalytics.com or YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for joining us.